This one's for my male viewers.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So when it comes to holding night vision to your head, you're pretty much down to 3 options: a bump helmet, a ballistic helmet, and a night vision harness or skull crusher. Now, unless you own the other 2, I would suggest discarding skull crusher or night harness out as an option because, well, you don't want jiggle physics on your $8,000 piece of equipment. However, unlike a video game where you kind of just slap on whatever has the highest stats, in the real life IRL world, there are trade-offs to each option. GunTubers and Instagram bros will have you believe that the ballistic helmet is the only real option if you don't want to get killed in the streets, TM, and that the real reason that people don't want ballistic helmets is that they're too poor. But they often overlook the real reason why a ballistic helmet is not always preferred, and that is weight. Ignoring the fact that most of these GunTubers and Instagram bros received their ballistic helmets for free to promote, and they probably have a hefty 10% affiliate code in their link tree, I think that the "you need a ballistic helmet or you'll get killed in the streets" discussion lacks a bit of nuance. Gonna fence it here for a second, but I am in no way saying that the ballistic helmet has no place or function. I'm only arguing that I often disagree with how quickly people dismiss the bump helmet as an option, especially with night vision and thermals in the mix. Here's my actual opinion on helmets. If this is your first helmet, buy a bump helmet, especially if you are new to night vision. Get your time under nods, get familiar with your equipment, and when the time comes, upgrade. For you keeners in the audience who want the long, convoluted answer to the gay son or thought daughter question of armor, stay tuned. Night vision accessories these days are eye-wateringly expensive, which is why I'm excited to launch my very own night vision accessories, starting with the Thought Industries Tactical Solutions J-Arm. It's only retailing for $60 USD, but don't let that price fool you because it's made of quality multi-jet fusion carbon fiber nylon. It's the same material that other companies use for their housings and their accessories, except at a fraction of the cost thanks to my free licensed Fusion 360 program, which I use to design this J-arm myself. So, if you are interested in getting something that's lightweight, affordable, durable, stows neatly against your helmet, check out T97industries.com. Thank you guys as always for all your support, and back to the video. Taking a step back for a second, I think we can all agree that the most important utility of a helmet in this current day and year is to hold other pieces of equipment like your night vision, your thermals, your hearing protection, your lights, your strobes, pieces of your communication setup, so on and so forth, with the added benefit of sometimes protecting your head. Especially if you live in North America or specifically on American soil, the chances of you getting shelled on top of your head is so extremely low that I don't think that ballistic protection should be the #1 priority you are thinking of when you are thinking of getting a helmet. Just look at these spiffy fellas wearing their booty shorts and chest rigs. Not a single piece of ballistic protection in sight. They're just dudes living in the moment. But since it is current year and nods and thermals are a thing, a helmet is an essential piece of kit. Again, more to hold equipment to your head rather than just a standalone piece to protect your head with. So which is better in this context, bump or ballistic? So with bump helmets, you are trading protection for comfort, and with ballistic helmets, you're trading comfort for protection. However, I'm actually here to argue that 8 times out of 10, you're probably better off with going with a regular schmegular bump helmet. So I'm gonna harp a little bit more about comfort in a second in the next part, but I'm just gonna start off talking about the actual protection that each type of helmet provides. So to start, there aren't actually any rifle rated helmets, with an asterisk. They do exist. However, I refuse to believe that your brain would not turn into soup after receiving the inertia from a rifle round. So I'm just gonna put that aside as not a real option. Now ask yourself, what kind of scenario are you in if you are kitted to the nines with a ballistic helmet, and what kind of calibers you are expecting to encounter when kitted in this scenario? Chances are you won't be wearing your ballistic helmet when Jerome comes to confront you with his blicky. And the Chinese are probably slinging something a little spicier than pistol rounds. So let's just file away the idea of using your helmet to actually stop a bullet. Yes, but I hear you spurging out. It's for shrapnel! While I agree, yes, you can block shrapnel, spall, debris, and all that with your ballistic helmet. When are you getting fragged on the top of your head? Now I'm gonna use the classic all-American high-cut helmet as an example here because that's the one I've seen the most often. If you actually look at this here diagram, you'll notice that most of your head isn't covered by your helmet. If you get shot anywhere in your face, you're dead. You shot anywhere on the side of your head, on your ear pro, you're probably dead. You get shot in the neck, at the back of the spine, you're dead. So the actual amount of protection that your helmet is providing is limited, especially when you consider that you're most likely gonna get fragged from foot level. Not only that, but hit anywhere in the ballistic helmet with anything spicier than a pistol round, you're going in the forever box. And if you do survive, you're probably gonna need some rehabilitation and you're gonna have forever migraines. So personally, if I get shot, sprayed, fragged, shrapneled anywhere in my bracket, head, eyes area, I pray that God takes me and he takes me instantaneously. Playing Tarkov has taught me anything is that it only takes one lukewarm lucky shot to humble any 10-man Chad kitted out to the nines on any map. The people who survive the most raids and come out with the most loot tend to be the people like me who play like an absolute rat and dodge every engagement possible. Feel free to disagree, but I feel like the whole using your ballistic helmet as actual ballistic protection is situational at best. Now, don't get me wrong, I could definitely see the argument for wearing a ballistic helmet if you're sitting in a trench and drones are flying around with bombs over your head, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that we don't fall in that category. With bump helmets, you get protection from exactly what it says, bumps. It's not phenomenal, but it's good enough for most debris or, falling material or impacts if you fall, so on and so forth. If I could just direct your attention to these old photographs from the early 2000s. Yes, they are wearing bike helmets. So you also get ventilation, which is a huge overlooked feature. Even in the winter times when there's snow on the ground and I'm rucking, if I'm doing a lot of physical activity, my head really heats up. And that ventilation is definitely a pro in my books. What myself and many other night vision enjoyers have realized is that wearing a ballistic helmet with nods, thermals, hearing protection, lights, strobes, communications equipment, counterweight, etc., really sucks. If you're wearing this helmet day in, day out at night for several nights in a row, you're gonna start hating your life. Your spine is really gonna take a beating, and as we know, spines aren't the most forgiving with regen. And yes, I hear you out there in the back. Just train your neck muscles. While I agree, resistance training is the foundation of any good LARPer. You should be going to the gym. I disagree with this sentiment when it comes to helmets. And why? It's because your cervical vertebrae do not care about how much muscle surrounds it. It gonna get compressed, lil bro. The tippy top of your spine, those little cervical discs over there, they're only about 26 millimeters in width on average, which is about 9mm cartridges stacked ass to ass, not tip to ass, and that's not very wide. And hear me out, I am not doubting your physical strength. You could probably fold me in half and throw me in a dumpster.
Nothing like a girl you've ever seen before. Nothing you can compare to your name. trying to find the words to describe this girl.
However, if a 6'5" corn-fed Marine from Kentucky can sustain long-term neck injuries from wearing a super heavy helmet for long hours a day, you certainly aren't him, and you certainly will get injured. And for what? Looking cool on the internet? But then again, I'm just some pleb, milsimmer, larper who likes to go out and shoot guns and play Penguins of the Madagascar with my friends out on the weekends. So I interviewed or bugged people who use their helmets, whether it be occupationally or for competition. The overall consensus, or the majority opinion, aside from a few die-hard ballistic stands, was that the bump helmet is the way to go. Especially if your plan is to bug out or, be a rat, you don't really need a ballistic helmet. I very much value mobility and comfort and long-term wear over a little bit extra protection for very situational threats.
Were buried in kit. Ballistic helmets weighing down their heads, and then every single piece of body armor, like the groin protector, the side plates, every piece, even their shoulders and their elbows were protected by ballistic body armor. Now, there's a time and place. Certainly there's a time and place. But when you're conducting mobile operations where you have to physically infiltrate and move, not the best tactic.
Even the lightest ballistic helmets are about 2.5 pounds compared to your average bump helmet, which is about 1.5 pounds. And that's only counting the lightest ballistic helmet. Most people buy surplus ballistic helmets that are way heavier than that. I spoke with someone who has a 7.8 pound helmet setup. 7.8, almost 8 pounds on your head. That's crazy. I don't care how many neck muscles you have, your spine, your neck is going to get cooked, little bro. So what I'm trying to say is that a ballistic helmet only provides situational amounts of ballistic protection for the amount of weight and discomfort it adds. And your helmet is most likely going to serve as a vessel for other pieces of equipment most of the time anyways. So you're probably fine just getting a bump helmet. And people saying, oh, you need a ballistic helmet or you're going to get killed in the streets, kind of drank the Kool-Aid a little bit too much. Lil bro, if you get shot anywhere in your head, you're most likely gonna die anyways. I wasn't gonna go over cost as an argument for fear of Redditors screeching at the top of their lungs that you're just poor, you can't afford a ballistic helmet. But I realize that I care very little about my public image, so I'm just gonna come out and say it. A bump helmet is way more affordable. I said it. I fucking said it. You probably don't need to spend that extra $700 to $800 on a nice ballistic helmet. You could probably use that for ammo, a car payment, some sustainment equipment, a nice ruck, good boots, a gym membership. Don't make me tap the sign. Nothing ever happens. And if you get shot or sprayed or whatever, shrapnelled in the head, you're probably just gonna die anyways. And if you're dead, it's no longer your problem. So why do you care? Go spend that money on literally anything else. Go make memories while you're young. Holy shit, why are you spurging on the internet over helmets? Anyways, don't listen to people with affiliate codes and put your balls in a Garand and make it ping. See ya.